It's a somber day for all of Detroit as we say goodbye to a Detroit legend, a Red Wings hero, the passing of Gordie Howe.
Right, tremendously sad. Just reading what people were saying online, it just touches your heart. It's kind of like something that you have to pace yourself with because it's just like waves of sadness that come upon you. So he played in more than 1,700 games in the NHL. He won 4 Stanley Cups with the Red Wings, suffered a couple of strokes, right, in 2014, and was receiving treatment that they said was working, but
so Mr. Hockey, here he is. You know what? Over the decades, and you heard Rhonda talking about this, over 5 decades, even coming back to the ice in his 50s. I mean, just an amazing story about this guy who a lot of us, he's kind of emblazoned in our mind at a certain point of the way he looked. You know how you connect to a celebrity or a professional athlete. And no question, in a town like Detroit, hockey town, how much we loved Gordie Howe and how much he had done for Detroit Red Wings hockey and what he means to the nation when it comes to hockey. His number 9 still hangs in the rafters of Joe Louis Arena. You saw him there with Mr. Ilitch. And our Steve Garagiola went back, and he now brings us a look back at the life of Mr. Hockey.
Gordie made his NHL debut with the Red Wings on October 16, 1946. 4-time Stanley Cup champion with the Wings, he won 6 Hart trophies as the league's most valuable player and 6 Art Ross trophies as the league's top scorer. When he retired from the Red Wings after 25 seasons, Gordie said it was hard to stop doing what he loved, being around his teammates, the competition, the fans. He said he knew it was time to quit, and only one thing nagged at him to keep playing.
It's just a little bit of selfishness, I think. One would be the selfishness would be to try for 800 goals, which really doesn't mean that much because 786 is the record. And the other would be to just eat the fruits of the well wishes of the fans, just sit back and cherish every moment you had and then try to get a little more.
In 1972, the Red Wings retired number 9, a tribute to an amazing career. But Gordie couldn't stay away. He came back to hockey for 7 more seasons with the Houston Aeros and New England Whalers in the old World Hockey Association. And he finished his career at age 51, back in the NHL with the Hartford Whalers, the year he made his final NHL All-Star appearance, the game at Joe Louis Arena.
Hockey's all-time leading scorer, Gordie Howe.
Gordie was always quick to say that his wife Colleen was the real strength on his team, managing Gordie's business affairs. In 1970, when team owner Bruce Norris reluctantly increased Gordie's salary to $100,000, he blamed Gordie's wife Colleen for that tough negotiation. In all, Gordie Howe played 32 seasons and achieved that mythic milestone of 800 NHL goals. He finished his career with 801. Known around the world simply as Mr. Hockey, he is widely regarded as the game's greatest player.
Looking back on the life of Gordie Howe, Mr. Hockey, Mitch Albom joins us now live on the phone, author, longtime Detroit Free Press columnist. And Mitch, you know, you've got your play, Hockey Running, Hockey the Musical. So it's a celebration of life for Gordie Howe, but he was tough on the ice, wasn't he?
He was like Superman. I mean, I think it's a little stunning, and I heard you say melancholy earlier, because I think there's a lot of us around here in Detroit who didn't think he would ever die.
Yeah.
He was one of these guys who just could go on longer than everybody, be tougher than everybody. You know, he is the namesake of the famous Gordie Howe hat trick, which means you score a goal, an assist, and have a fight in one game.
Yeah.
And, you know, you don't usually have guys today, certainly, and not even in recent years, who are tough and fantastic hockey players. He's usually separated into one or the other. He was the original fantastically skilled offensive player who also was the toughest guy out there on the ice.
I mean, let's just talk a little bit about his gift for hockey. This is not normal when someone can play for such a long time in any sport.
It's really, when you look at his life, it's sort of extraordinary. He seems to be just one of those physical specimens that, you know, he was 6 foot tall when he was in high school, and he was clearly cut out to be something special physically. You know, grew up during the Depression, had to leave high school, you know, and worked very hard at physical labor. I'm sure all of that toughened him up when he finally ended up getting into the world of hockey and joining the Red Wings. He was his coaches, I think, said, well, we know you can fight. Let's see if you can play hockey. And he proved that he could. I mean, you can't even list the records that he has put together. They're sort of crazy. Nobody's an all-star 23 times. You know, that's like 6 people's all-stars careers rolled into one, or 6 times MVP of the league. Of course, he won the 4 Stanley Cups with the Red Wings, but not just the Cups. I mean, I think there was like 7 years in a row when they were in first place just because he was there. And then the longevity factor of him coming back and not only playing as long as he did with the Red Wings, and then playing with the Suns in the WHA, and then even coming back when he was 51 years old to play a season with Hartford, to end up on an all-star team with Wayne Gretzky. You can't even imagine that Wayne Gretzky and he could have existed in the same era. You know, you're talking about a guy who grew up in the Depression, and yet he was on the ice a couple of times with Wayne Gretzky. You're not going to ever see anybody like this again in the world of hockey. The game doesn't allow for it. The sport is much different. We lost somebody who broke the mold from the time he got into the league to his dying day.
So when you look back, you know, you've rubbed shoulders and elbows with a lot of people. I mean, Ernie Harwell, Ted Lindsay. When you look back at Gordie Howe, can you give us any personal anecdotes about being around him and maybe even his wife, Colleen, Mitch?
Well, first of all, they were always together, and she was, as you mentioned in your piece, a huge driving force. He was a very family-oriented guy, and his sons and his wife were constantly by his side and steering his career. And of course, in the later years when he wasn't doing well, you know, he would still show up at events. He couldn't speak particularly well, or he was quiet. The stroke clearly robbed him in the last couple of years of those abilities. But the thing I probably remember the most was the way there was a time when Steve Yzerman, I can't remember what year this was, but it was early in Steve Yzerman's career, and Gordie Howe came into the locker room, as he would regularly do. I mean, he's a regular fixture at Joe Louis Arena. And I remember Steve Yzerman came up to me and he said, "That's Gordie Howe, Gordie Howe." And I said, "Yeah, you know." And I said, "Why don't you, you know, you're Steve Yzerman." And he said, "Oh," I said, "just go up and say hi, you know." And he said, "Oh, you can't just go up to Gordie Howe and say hi." Now, this is Steve Yzerman.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's the reverence that he had when he walked into a room. In the world of hockey, you can argue whether he was the best player, the second best player, the third best player, as different lists have put him on. But within the hockey world, he was a god, and even players like Yzerman held him in awe.
And with this new stadium coming our way real soon, and you know, this last season at Joe Louis, so it's really an interesting time. Do you think that the Red Wings as a team will honor him in some way that's beyond what we would all consider the obvious as fans?
Well, I mean, you talk about a guy who has streets and bridges named after him, so I don't think it would be unusual for some part of this of the new stadium to be dedicated to him. If I know the Illiches and the history of the Red Wings franchise, there'll be something special for him. I mean, there's already, as I say, statues and streets, and he's been honored many different ways. But you're right, the new stadium, the new arena offers a golden opportunity to do something special, and I imagine they may be thinking about that even now.
In his health crisis, and you hear about the connection in Toledo with stem cell research, did you see any other ways that we aren't aware of that he was giving back to the community?
Well, you know, what happened with him in the last couple of years is mysterious. I have, you know, both of my parents were stroke victims, and so I had a particular interest in this sort of experimental thing that they were trying in out of the country, and it was controversial. I talked with members of his family who told me that he was actually, it was like he had snapped back to life as a result of it. Now, they weren't sharing that or him with the rest of the world, but I was told that it was just a remarkable improvement, and for a brief period of time, Gordie Howe did what he seemed to be able to do all the time, which is sort of cheat time. He did that when he played as long as he did with the Red Wings. He did it when he played afterwards. He did it when he came back at 51, and he seemed to be doing it even with a stroke, a serious stroke. Remember, Gordie Howe had physical difficulties. He had a terrible head injury very early on in his career. He did a check that kind of went bad, and it he had to go to the hospital for emergency surgery, and today they might not have even let him continue to play. We take people out of games with concussions at the slightest whiff of that, and yet he continued his whole career with that. And he had dizzy spells at different times during the course of his career. So even his brain and even his skull clearly survived more than the average person would. And that last sort of gasp of that experimental medication, where we all sort of said, well, that's Gordie Howe. If anybody's going to kind of cheat what seems to be a death sentence, it's going to be him. And he got a little extra time there at the end. None of us get to beat the final clock ever in the long run, but boy, did Gordie Howe push the limits a bit.
Yeah.
Right. Now, Mitch, as a final thought, let us know how you think we should all be celebrating Gordie Howe's life.
Well, he was blessed with a very long life, and he was blessed with a very long career. Athletes don't always get that, and human beings don't always get that. So, of course, we're saddened, and in his own way, he helped prep his fans for this, because it wasn't like we saw him yesterday at a parade and then boom, suddenly a terrible heart attack or something, and he was instantly gone. Sort of been slowly fading from the picture, and I think a lot of people have been waiting to hear, is there a moment when we're going to lose Gordie Howe? Now that it's finally come, I think Detroiters in particular can take a lot of joy in the fact that we had a chance for 25 or so seasons to have who I think was certainly the greatest specimen to ever play the game of hockey, if not the greatest single player to play it. And he was right here in Detroit, and number 9 is always going to be symbolic with him, and there's a reason that they call him Mr. Hockey in Hockey Town. So we should celebrate his legacy and be glad that we had the chance here in our town to call him our own for so many years.
Hey, Mitch, thanks for taking time out this morning to be with us. Take good care.
Of course, anytime.
Thanks, Mitch.
Fans are sending in their thoughts about the passing of Gordie Howe. Here are just a few of them, because social media is just lighting up. This is a big national story, as you can imagine, as well. We've got a way for you to leave messages. Rest in peace, Gordie. You will be missed. Mr. Hockey, that's from Annette.
Yes, and Elizabeth says he will be greatly missed by many. May he rest in peace. Thank you from all of Hockey Town.
And that's the way the city thinks. I mean, the grittiness and talking about being in the line. I mean, it really was connected to the automotive spirit of how you put things together, including the teams. Goodbye, Mr. Howe. You were everything that was great about hockey. That's from Steve. Thanks, Steve. And this is the last one here.
Finally, from Belinda. Another legend has left the building, sadly. Sadly indeed.
And if you want to leave a message for the family or share some memories of Mr. Hockey, you can go to the Local 4 page. There's much more on the life and the legacy of Gordie Howe at clickondetroit.com. And of course, this goes without saying, because we're celebrating here this life of Gordie Howe. Our hearts, lots of prayers heading out to the Howe family this morning. And we'll be right back with more of Live in the D.